Okay. So Defect is the third class. It came out most recently compared to the other two, which means that there's still a little bit more like exploring to do by people in terms of playing it perfectly, I feel like. Although I feel like this exhibits itself more in there being lots and lots of just really bizarre opinions about how to play Defect than it does in terms of like the good players being able to play Defect right. So maybe you'll get something out of this. I don't know. The main thing I'm going to do is not take Claw, which probably fixes most of the mistakes that anybody was making. Defect's quite good at Act 1 elites. I don't think he struggles with any of them. I think Gremlin Knob and Lagavulin probably deal him the most damage, just like on the other two classes. But with Zap, Defect's always pretty much going to be able to kill an elite. Zap is just good linearly scaling damage, and in a longer fight, it will get you there. So as I'm looking at this map, I'm definitely looking for elite fights. Relics are pretty solid on Defect. For a long time I didn't think they were as influential as they were on Silent, and thought they were a little bit less influential than they were on Ironclad, but I think I would say that Silent cares most than Defect than Ironclad at this point. I think Ironclad's mostly about card interactions. Defect can get quite a bit out of some extra combat stats from relics. Might be taking a very, very safe act. I don't know, there are lots of things we can do. It's hard to get 3 elites in a lot of campfires, and by that I mean we can't. We could do like 2 elites and 2 campfires. Take a look at what our whale bonuses are. What is the sub goal to overexplain my life? 700. 1,000. No, that's a good 1,000. We got transform a card, obtain 3 random potions, remove 2 cards for 7 max HP, or trade our starting relic. I'm just going to be taking potions here. Let's talk about why. Transforming cards. I like strikes and defends. I like them on all 3 classes. Probably I like them least on Defect. I don't like defends that much on Ironclad, I guess. But in general, in Act 1, strikes and defends are actually pretty good. They get you front-loaded stats, get you through hallway fights. They're just, like, completely fine. They can scale up in a variety of ways as the run goes on. If you get ways to gain strength and dexterity, if you get ways to draw a bunch of cards, I don't know. Generally, you want to start taking out strikes like halfway through Act 1 once you have other front-loaded damage in your deck, but at the start of the run, you sort of like your strikes. It's pretty easy to end up with a very lopsided deck if you transform a strike into a defensive card early and then just don't see any attacks for a couple of floors. And there's not really much reason to transform anything other than a strike, so I've never liked transforming cards out of starter decks all that much. The starter decks are just generally fairly well balanced already. Removing 2 cards for our deck for 7 max HP. First off, 7 max HP is immensely valuable. That is an awful lot. In terms of removing the cards, it's great to remove some cards. We could remove a strike and a defend, and we'd get to draw the cards that we add to the deck much more rapidly. An issue with doing this is against enemies with status effects. We draw our status effects a lot more rapidly as well. So in this act, it's not that big a concern. We run into slimes and stuff like that a little bit. Run into the Tri-Sentry fight, which we would still win, but would take a little bit more damage in that without a strike and defend in our deck, probably. In Act 2, it starts to be a bigger deal, especially against elites who are wounding you a ton. I don't generally think that taking a ton of cards out of your deck is something that you want to prioritize very highly. So those are the reasons that I'm not transforming or removing cards. Not obtaining a random boss relic because our starting relic is just great. And And yeah, 3 random potions is just fine. Will just help us get through the start of the run, might help us kill our first elite. These ones are excellent. Like Bomosho to you as well, keeping it surreal. Thanks for 2 months subbed in a row. Warhammer's been fun. We were playing some Krokgar last night. Okay, so with these potions, we're definitely able to fight elites straight away. I don't know that we're going for 3. Defect doesn't need upgrades much. None of the orb cards need to be upgraded, really. The focus cards need upgrades, and like the front-loaded damage cards need upgrades. So what I mean by that is something like Defragment needs an upgrade for sure, but something like a Glacier or a Ball Lightning or a Cold Snap, these cards don't need upgrades much at all. And those can be cards that you focus on a lot early on in the game. I'd love to get a Zap upgrade. Zap's a good upgrade. We have a Guardian Act boss. I think we can do 3 elites. I'm not certain that it's better than like doing 2 elites, 2 campfires. That's a good start. Huh. What about Darkness? Darkness doesn't really need an upgrade. So you have 16, 19, 22, 26. Okay. So Barrage is really nice damage, but it's really nice damage for a deck that we don't have yet, and a deck which succeeds pretty well without Barrage, even if we get it. Barrage is excellent even if we only have 3 orbs channeled, but we can't even get 3 orbs channeled right now. And then it gets better and better the more orbs we have channeled, but at the same time our deck gets better and better the more orbs we have channeled, and it becomes less and less relevant that we have a Barrage in our deck, which is good. I take Barrage sometimes. This is not one of those times. I would have skipped over Barrage right now, I think. I'm not sure. Barrage is also a card which needs an upgrade, and we're trying not to grab a ton of upgrades in this act. Compile Driver is a very, very strong card. Defect has a lot of zero-cost sorts of things. Defect also has a lot of cards which need to be deployed as the battle starts. So you might have a 30-card deck, and in that deck you have 5 cards which are like Defragment or Capacitor or Glacier. You really want to play those cards to get your orbs going. And so having card draw on a card which is just a perfectly fine attack is very, very nice. I believe Compile Driver is the best card draw that Defect has. I think it's better than Skim. Better than the Rare Power, which draws you cards as well. I really like Compile Driver. I think I'm gonna go Self-Repair here, though. Self-Repair means that we can, assuming that our deck gets strong, which isn't guaranteed yet, but assuming that our deck gets strong, we can stop relying on campfires to heal straight away, which is nice if we're taking an act with very few campfires. There's no guarantee that self-repair is going to be good. For example, in this fight, we're still taking some damage. Our deck is not quite at the point yet where self-repair can sustain through all the fights for us, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Dual cast was probably better there. I don't really think it can possibly matter, though. I'm pretty sure it can't possibly matter. We're always going to draw those 10 cards. We saw that we had 2 defense next turn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's impossible. Hey, Captain Derp. We have a Steam Barrier, a Stack, and a Multicast. So multicast is a very flashy card, which turns out to not actually be very good. The only real application of multicast is in a deck which is using a Darkness Orb to kill something with a lot of HP and can't stall long enough for the Darkness Orb to stack. Otherwise, multicast is like typically just bad. Just like always bad. You're just going to have better things to spend energy on. You can engineer ways to get better return on energy than that in any like reasonable deck. Stack is a very good card starting in like halfway through Act 2 or so. The more cards you have in your deck with stack, the better it's going to be, obviously. And Steam Barriers are just fine. Early on in the game, we have 3 energy, and most of the time when we draw our hand, it costs 4 or 5 to play it all. So having a 0-cost card which does something is a very big deal. Also, like, turns at the start of the game are very normal, sort of. Like, you get attacked for 12, and you can block for 10, and deal 6 damage or whatever. This is just a very normal turn, and so having the Steam Barrier in there regularly saves you health. Got a store. This is a very good store. So all of Ball Lightning, Sunder, and Auto Shields would be excellent additions to our deck right now. Auto Shields, it's just pretty nice to have 1 Auto Shields in your deck usually. Very little reason not to have it. You can start to run into problems once you have like Loop and Frost Orbs or something, but especially at the start of the game, Auto Shields is great for us. Sunder is excellent. Sunder, when upgraded, becomes even better. Sunder is a card for killing Act 2, and it's quite good at killing Act 2. Quite good against Gremlin Leader. Quite good against Tri-Slavers. And then Ball Lightning is just sort of the quintessential good defect common attack. This and Compile Driver are your... and the one that makes a Frost Orb are your... what is the one that makes a Frost Orb Pro? I can't remember right now. Are your like go-to common attacks for defect. And getting those in the deck early is pretty nice. I'm inclined toward Ball Lightning card remove right now. Start taking strikes out. Now that we have a Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning is just so much damage for 1 energy. That Lightning Channel is 3 damage every turn. It's a ridiculous card. It's called Cold Snap. Thank you. So yeah, I'm going to take a Ball Lightning. I will remove a strike. Feel comfortable enough about that now with the Ball Lightning in the deck. Again, the Ball Lightning is a ridiculous, ridiculous amount of damage. And we have an upgrade event. So the Zap upgrade's great. That's usually worth 5 block or 6 damage as we cycle through the deck, because it's going to let us play a strike or defend. And, like, a strike upgrade's 3 damage, right? A defend upgrade's 3 block, so getting an upgrade which is worth 5 block or 6 damage is very, very solid. Self-repair upgrade's also very good for us. Gets us closer to actually sustaining without resting. Ball Lightning upgrade's fine. It's 4 damage, worse than a Zap upgrade, but pretty good. The dual cast upgrade's sort of interesting. Usually dual cast upgrade happens after Zap upgrade if we have a lot of card draw and orb generation. It's a lot to ask for. Dual cast doesn't always get upgraded in my runs for sure. Hey Bress, how you doing? So I'm gonna take the Zap upgrade first and probably go for a self-repair upgrade second. We have a cool-headed sweeping beam and a charge battery. Charge battery is a very good block common. It is a good price for a significant amount of block. Gaining energy next turn is typically pretty solid on Defect. Defect, I think... Defect has so many cards that are good to play on the first cycle through the deck that you end up prioritizing card draw, and you don't worry too much about playing all of the cards in your hand every turn. So I think you usually have something to do with that energy. Whereas on like Ironclad, often you'll have a deck which doesn't have enough card draw to actually make use of an extra energy on the next turn. Ironclad doesn't have a card which gives you an extra energy on the next turn anyway. Sweeping Beam's fine, a little bit of AoE and draw a card. Cool-Headed also fine, channel a Frost Orb and draw a card. Since we don't have a Frost Orb yet, I'm going to take the Cool-Headed. I think being able to make a Frost Orb is very valuable. There are just lots of reasons that it's very valuable. This event makes me angry because we should not be able to lose our Ascender's Bane, but I guess we're getting a Relic and losing our Ascender's Bane, which seems just ridiculously strong. We meet again! A cherry, disheveled fellow approaches you gleefully. You do not know this man. It's me, Ranwilt. Have any goods for me today? The usual fellow like me can't make it alone, you know. I am suspiciously and consider your options. So, yeah, this is silly. So we've gotten rid of our Ascender's Vein, and we have a gold-plated cables. Our rightmost orb triggers its passive an additional time. Gold-plated cables is a pretty solid relic. It's okay. Gets better and better with focus. In this situation, we'll be able to use it to gain a little bit of extra block with this Frost Orb, probably. Not the best turn. We want to kill Gremlin Knob before he slaps us really hard next turn. I think we go Cool-Headed. It gives us 9 damage, putting him at 36, plus another at least 9 the next turn, 27. Dual cast Ball Lightning Zap. Yeah, I think we try to draw a damaging card here. Perfect. Okay, Steam Barrier. At worst, we may end up using Fire Potion to save some life here. But looks like we're good. Okay, got an Ancient Tea Set for some extra energy on turn 1. Not so useful on Defect. Defect tends to have pretty bad turn 1s. And our options are Go for the Eyes, Force Field, and Barrage. We talked about Barrage already, and all the things I said then are still pretty much applying now. Force Field's great with Snecko Eye. Can be passable in some decks with a lot of powers, but in general not a very good card. And the 12 block isn't actually that much more than like Leap or something can give you. You can just get 9 block for 1 energy at common without having all the conditions on your card. So Force Field goes in some of my decks, but definitely doesn't go in this one. We just obviously need to have some powers played for it to do anything. Go for the Eyes is an excellent card. Weak is a very powerful effect. And applying it for 0 energy is a great deal. This will be on YouTube, yeah. I was saying that I wanted to upgrade the self-repair. I'm tempted to upgrade Go for the Eyes instead now, though. Go for the Eyes isn't that great against Lagavulin, like the upgrade on it, because you have to draw it specifically on the first turn that he's attacking in a cycle for the upgrade to matter. It's also not very good against the Tri-Sentries, because they have artifact charges. So, just take self-repair. Also, they alternate which turn they're attacking on, so even if they didn't have artifact charges, it still doesn't do anything. So yeah, because of the nature of the fights that we're taking next, I'm going to go for self-repair instead. I think I talked enough about why I was upgrading different things at the last upgrade decision for that to be explained. We have a maw bank here. Whenever we climb a floor, we gain 12 gold. It no longer works when we spend any gold at the shop. Okay. So we'll get a good shop in Act 2 out of that. This is actually my first time ever having maw bank. I don't think it's a particularly strong relic, but hey, it's my first time ever having it. Let's not shit talk it yet. I'm gonna put the damage on the middle sentry, just since it removes the artifact. I think that has some value. Maw bank get buffed from 5 to 10 to 12, something like that, yeah. This is gonna be painful. I'm gonna work out which one of these we're killing. That one. Use a fire potion. And we're gonna defend since we can play our self-repair the next time through the deck. Robo jumper. I think the problem with maw bank is that in runs where you don't have to be spending your gold in Act 1 or 2, you're probably winning already. It's like an okay relic. Also, keep in mind that you're losing a relic to get maw bank. Like, say you get 120 gold out of it. That's not actually enough to afford a relic. So you're probably better off with, like, just getting a different common relic there. Singing Bowl is an excellent relic. I think the max HP relics are very, very good. The more I play this game, the more I like max HP. And Singing Bowl, even if you're taking a lot of cards, you're gonna get like 4+ activations out of it. It's gonna be comparable to a Strawberry or a Pear at worst. And more often than that, it's going to be up there with Mango or something. I think that this should be a rare relic. I believe it started at common and moved to uncommon, and just doesn't seem like it makes any sense for this to be anything other than rare for how strong it is. Or maybe +1 max HP. I'm like, I don't care that much about the game balance, but just giving you an idea of how strong I think this is. I would be pretty happy to have this at +1 max HP. I think that the better you get it, being able to analyze when you need cards in your deck, the stronger and stronger Singing Bowl gets as well. Just going to be taking +2 max HP here. Claw, Equilibrium, Steam Barrier. Oh man, Claw. I guess I have to talk about Claw. Claw is like sort of synonymous with like defect decks which try too hard. You can make some really, really sweet decks out of Claw, and the Claws will hit for a lot of damage, and there's absolutely no reason to ever do that. You just like don't need to do that. And the other times you try to make that deck, you have a card which deals 3 damage, and you have to draw it, and it's not a very good card. So, Claw's just not very good. Claw is a sort of poor source of scaling damage in a deck which has a lot of card draw. That's what Claw does, but it's not as good at scaling in that deck as something like a Consume would be, plus some orbs. And it's also just a very poor card all the rest of the time. Steam Barrier, we talked about, we already took one of these. I don't think we want another. It's very nice to be able to take Snecko Eye on Defect. We already have 3 0 costs in our deck. Equilibrium's actually an okay card. We could take Equilibrium. Retaining your hand for next turn is quite valuable. You can, for example, block a ton this turn. When you have to block in the next turn, you can play all the attacks that were in your turn, in your hand, that you couldn't play last turn because you were blocking. It's possible that Equilibrium is worth taking here over the +2 max HP. I'm just going to take the +2 max HP though. Rude. Alright, so we're gonna again plan to play Self-Repair the second time through the deck. What are my main goals with this deck? It's a big question. I'm currently trying to be able to beat all the Act 2 bosses and elites. We've already gotten to a point where we can do that for all of Act 1. At the moment we have a lot of trouble beating Gremlin Leader because we don't have any source of AoE. So something that would either let us scale so high that we beat Gremlin Leader, or give us AoE so we beat Gremlin Leader would be really nice. We have some trouble with Book of Stabbing, but that's going to get better just by getting better cards. And against the Tri-Slavers elite fight, we don't really have enough front-loaded damage to get through it without taking a lot of damage. So basically we're looking for everything at the moment. We're looking for better front-loading, better AoE, better scaling. We're not in a situation where any of those things are spoken for yet. I do want to make sure that I get the self-repair off. So if we do this, we're fine. Another attack would have killed the guy there. Main goal in building a deck is to get it ready. You're trying to be ready for the challenges that you're facing. The main things that you care about are... generally speaking, the main things that you care about are being able to deal about 50 damage over the course of 2 turns. Being able to block for like 20 to 30 per turn. Being able to deal a little bit of AoE. You only need really enough AoE to kill Gremlin Leader, or sometimes a bit more to kill Collector. There aren't any other fights in the game where AoE is so important that you die if you don't have AoE. And being able to scale a little bit for boss fights, which is usually like just 1 card is enough to scale you. You can take Consume or Ball Lightning here. We have talked about Ball Lightning already. It's still a very, very good attack. Consume is very nice. Consume gets a little bit better with gold-plated cables, because one of our orbs is triggering twice, so the focus matters twice as much. Also, going down to only 1 orb slot with Consume is pretty nice, because the 1 orb slot we have is triggering twice. So I think this does end up being a Consume. Consume's a powerful enough card to like potentially be what our entire deck is built around. That's the sort of card which can beat boss fights for us, and so on and so forth. This will wake up Lagavulin now. We did go for the eyes on the turn where the upgrade would have mattered. Whoops. Let's see. Lots of orders that we could play these cards. Well, Strike is getting played like this, and Defense is getting played like that, so those ones don't matter. Sap and Dual Cast. Do we want to dual cast our Frost Orb? I don't think so. I think we're gonna dual cast the Lightning, play a Zap. Get the 8 block from the Frost Orb this turn, and maybe evoke it on the next turn. Consume Coolhead, it's fine. Almost. Wonder if there was a better way to play that fight somewhere to get the extra 1 point of damage. Regardless, we came out of it not too bad. We have a Juzu bracelet, so we don't get fights in question mark rooms anymore. Fights are actually pretty good for us with Singing Bowl, because every time we get a card reward, we have an option for +2 max HP. Rainbow is an alright card. It's like some damage, some block, and some scaling all in one card, which I don't know, it's hard to envision a deck that's trashing Act 3 and like Rainbow is the card that you're playing that trashes Act 3, right? It's not an incredibly powerful card in that way. What is though is it gets us a little bit better in general at dealing damage, blocking, and scaling, which are all things that we need to do. With Rainbow, we're like almost already able to beat the Champ, for example, because now we have a Dark Orb in our deck. So I think we take Rainbow. Claw, we've talked about. Hologram's a very powerful common. Lets us, in this deck, pretty easily get back Go for the Eyes, Zap, Steam Barrier. Hologram is great, and I would take it over to max HP. But I think getting the Rainbow set up so that we have a Dark Orb available is just worth it. I think the first Dark Orb that you get is very valuable. I'm going to go for a Block Potion over an Attack Potion. I don't think we're having trouble dealing damage. I killed him too fast. Whoops. Alright, Melter, Leap, and Steam Barrier. Melter is a very powerful card when it works. There are enemies who can have like 60 block, for example, and all of a sudden you're dealing 70 damage with one card. There aren't any enemies like that in fights that you care about, though. And most of the time you're just like dealing 10 damage with one card, which just isn't that good. Significantly worse than Ball Lightning, for example. Steam Barrier and Leap are both good block cards. Leap is a good enough card that I would value it over 2 max HP here. Generally, you want to get up to like 25 block per turn, and so 1 energy for 9 block is a great exchange rate that's good enough for the entire game. Good enough for the entire game, even if you don't get a 4th energy. So we can choose between a fight or an event here. With Singing Bowl, I'm going to take the fight. Hey Archive, how you doing? See if we can maybe draw self-repair this time. Nope. Ooh, maybe. Still no. It's unfortunate. We're winning these fights too easily. Boot Sequence, Reprogram, and Ball Lightning. Boot Sequence is one of the reasons that Defect has pretty awkward turn 1s. It's a very strong card. Blocking 10 for 0 energy is just incredible. On the other hand, it's innate. And dedicating one of your 5 cards on turn 1 to a card which only blocks takes away a significant amount of what you can accomplish proactively on turn 1. Reprogram's a really interesting card. It's comparable to card draw. I think of it as sort of a bad card draw card. I don't think it's incredible, and in general I'm not that interested in putting bad to mediocre 0-cost cards in my deck in Act 1. And Ball Lightning we've talked about before. Ball Lightning's very good. So I'm probably just gonna take the Boot Sequence. Blocking on turn 1 isn't very good in Act 1, but it becomes much better on Act 2. So there's that to consider. Take a deck spot over an Essence of Steel, I believe. And our upgrade here is going to be Consume. This is by far the most output that we can get out of an upgrade. The way this is set up, we have not quite transformed him on turn 1, which is good. It means we can transform him on turn 2 instead. Sort of wastes another one of his turns, because all he does there is block and then set up for a big attack. With our plated cables, where'd they go? We're able to dual cast our Frost Orb away and get enough damage to transform him. Dodge the attack. Rainbow's pretty good here. And we don't have much reason to attack him. The Guardian, often the pattern of this fight is that you play pretty defensively while he's in his shell form with Sharp Hide, who's just a little bit more difficult to get attacks in when you're taking 3 damage every time you attack. And then you try to deal a lot of damage to him when he's no longer in his defensive form. This Dark Orb's going to force him to transform pretty shortly, unless we hit a dual cast off that. Nope. Good. We're gonna hold on to Boot Sequence. We don't want to play Ball Lightning because we want this Dark Orb to scale up. We're gonna hit it with dual cast. Nice. Do we want to do it now? Oh, probably. Could have played Strike first. Slight improvement. I'm just not going to consume. Gonna leave myself with 2 orb slots to play with. This time maybe I will. Again, we're just trying to line up when our deck deals a lot of damage with when he's in this form, for the most part. So that's 21. I haven't been spending a ton of time making sure that the stuff I've been doing has been perfect in this fight. I don't think we took damage. At some point it was very, very clear that that fight was going well for us. Alright, and our defect rares are Buffer, Rainbow, and Echo Form. Defect has some very powerful rares. Echo Form is definitely one of them. Buffer is actually one of them too. Having Buffer available for like the Transient fight in Act 3, the Hyper Beam boss fight in Act 2, it's a really nice card to have. But Echo Form, you give up a turn somewhat to be able to double the first card you play each turn. It costs you 3 energy, which is likely the most part of an entire turn, but we've got a Boot Sequence in our deck, we've got a Go for the Eyes, a Steam Barrier, so it's fairly likely that we will draw it with the ability to mitigate a little bit. And also, Echo Form plus Self-Repair is an immensely strong synergy. Being able to Echo Form our Self-Repair so we're healing 20 out of the fight instead of 10 is, yeah, very, very good, and goes a long way toward making up for having one bad turn where we get Echo Form in play. Echo Form just makes us play the best card in our hand twice every turn, once it's set up, more or less. And that's really good. So, There you go. Defect also scales very well off powers, and powers are things that you can usually only play once in a fight, but Echo Form lets you play them twice. Ectoplasm is interesting with Maulbank. I think we're going to take Coffee Dripper here. We gain energy at the start of each turn, but can no longer rest at rest sites. It's a little bit risky. We're now heavily reliant on that self-repair that we have for all of our sustain, more or less. But I think that we're in comfortable enough shape that that's better than an Ectoplasm. Are there things that we get with gold which make us better at winning the run, I guess, is the question. We can card remove strikes. We can buy some more defensive relics. Yeah, I think so. Black Star's here too. Black Star's... yeah, Black Star's Black Star, I don't know. So we know that question marks are not fights, although in Act 2 there is a pretty nasty fight event at a question mark. We probably want to go to a store as quickly as possible. We're fighting Collector, which really requires some AoE or some slightly better scaling than we have. A little bit of AoE would get that dealt with very, very quickly. Campfires don't let us rest, but they do let us upgrade. I think we just go to this store, cash in the Maulbank, and then we try to get through 2 elites, probably. Hold on to the boot sequence for later. Very often with boot sequence, you end up holding onto it on turn 1, and then you'll get it with hologram later on. So I think the most block we get is from Consume Rainbow, Lightning, Frost, Dark, Lightning, Frost, Dark. And then Zap. Not playing Zap gave us even more, didn't it? Oh well. This turn's pretty bad. This turn's terrible. I'm just gonna go ahead and get the doubled self-repair value next turn. And the Darkness Orb will win the fight for us. So we didn't actually take any damage there. Thanks to self-repair. We've got a Ball Lightning, Charge Battery, and Compile Driver. I've talked about all of these cards before. I guess the Compile Driver is upgraded, which makes a small difference, makes it a bit better. This is a point in the run where Compile Driver starts to get pretty good. We have 3 different types of orbs. Often it's only going to be a draw 1. If the fight's gone longer, we'll have consumed down to 1 orb slot with how things are going right now. But we're at a point in the fight where like we want to draw toward Echo Form, we want to draw toward Consume, we want to generally not be playing our strikes and defends and be drawing toward better cards. And so the card draw does start to have a lot of value, and we don't have any of it really yet. We've just got the Cool-Headed, which is like, eh. So getting a Compile Driver in there is great. I'm not sure that we've used the Singing Bowl once since we got it. We would have gotten more block by not evoking the Frost Orb in that fight. Yeah. Okay. I don't particularly want any of this stuff. I'm gonna take the max HP, hits me for 21, so we're gonna have to get some value out of that self-repair. Or even just getting a regen pot from the store we're about to go to or something like that. I really like max HP as long as we can get up to it. I think it's very good. And we may be able to get there this time. Defend works here, or boot sequence strike. So we get rid of our boot sequence for 6 extra damage. Want to look for an echo form before we do anything else. I think this is a situation where we just play self-repair without the echo form pretty clearly. I believe that if we just double cool-headed next turn, that's gonna be fine. I guess ball lightning would have worked too. Alright, a strength potion. We're not dealing that much damage with attacks. It's mostly the lightning and dark orb. Charge battery plus is a great block card. I sort of wonder if we're at a point where we'd rather have 2 max HP versus it though. It's making it harder for us to draw Echo Form early. We do already have a leap. The 2 max HP heals us for 2 immediately as well, which is sort of nice with Coffee Dripper and some elite fights we might want to do. Lock On is just not a very good card. Reprogram we've talked about already. It's okay. I think we have enough energy at the moment and little enough card draw that it's like probably not worth having at the moment. It's just going to make our turns where we draw Reprogram pretty bad. It'll make the next turn better, but we're a deck which struggles more with our turn 1, 2, and 3 than with our 4, 5, and 6, thanks to the Dark Orb, the Echo Form. We still only have 2 ways to make a Frost Orb and the Rainbow Exhausts. Getting another Frost Orb into the deck would be very nice. I think I'm going to plan to get another Frost Orb in at the store and just take the 2 max HP. And don't take the charge battery here. Well, another compile driver is fine. There are a few things which are fine here. Hey, Sipsy! Agbomo show to you as well. Thank you very much for 4 months subbed in a row. Much appreciate all the support. So we can buy Compile Driver, Master of Strategy, Oddly Smooth Stone, and remove a strike here. And that gets our deck going so much faster. I think that's what we're going to do. I'm just wondering if there's something better. We could take Toy Ornithopter for a little bit of extra HP. Whenever we use a potion, we heal 3. I don't think we need that. We could take a Bandage Up. Bandage Up's pretty good with Echo Form. The same way that Self-Repair is pretty good with Echo Form. To some extent, all cards are good with Echo Form, right? But when we don't have all that much sustain, having access to a Bandage Up and being able to play it twice is nice. Could maybe take the Bandage Up instead of removing a strike. I think I'm going to trust the deck, though. And go with the buy that I just outlined. Oh. I don't know why I said I could remove a card as well. That's clearly not true. Anyway, no strike removed. We got a lot more card draw into the deck. And an Oddly Smooth Stone makes us a bit better at blocking as well. It's gonna hurt. Gotta play the self-repair first thing this turn. Consume Ball Lightning might be the play. Rainbow looks okay. I like Consume Ball Lightning. This way we have a Frost Orb that's blocking for 10 a turn. And that coupled with the Echo Form should give us enough block. Or not. Wait, it's like still enough. Beautiful. Gonna Ball Lightning to get this fight over. Their options are Ball Lightning, Barrage, and Charge Battery. We have seen these come in so many times this run. I think this is a pretty clear +2 max HP. We've reached a point where these commons are just not that great compared to what our deck already does. The max HP is still very valuable. Okay. I'm gonna take an Elite fight. It could go really bad. But we do have a forced Elite with this path through this act. And if it goes well, we can take a Campfire for an upgrade and then fight another one straight away. Seems better than going on the left path and not having the option of taking a second Elite fight if this one goes well. It is Gremlin Leader, which is the worst outcome for us, I believe. We want to try to trim down his summons while getting our deck set up in this situation. I'm not going to pop any of the potions yet, although I'm not too upset about using the potions in this fight if it comes to that. Here, for example, is a decent block potion, I think. I think just play all the defensive cards. And our Echo Form. So we've got 18 block, we're looking at more than that damage. I think we're actually fine. Getting Rainbow down for our Darkness Orb. I think is good. That definitely played twice, didn't it? Didn't even think about that. Do we want the self-repair now, or do we want to try to double it later? I think we just play it now in this situation. Okay, now we have to decide how much we're valuing the Dark Orb. I don't imagine we can be valuing it so much that we don't Ball Lightning twice here. And we're just going after the leader at this point. We have enough damage to get him dead, I believe. Okay, nice. So Gremlin Leader has an AI thing where if he has 2 minions summoned already, he will only buff and attack you. If you get him down to 1 minion summoned, you turn on the ability for him to summon more guys. Which is nice, because it means that he's not attacking you, and he attacks really, really hard. He has 12 strength right now. So, pretty nice that we're getting a summon this turn. Although, maybe he's just dead anyway. Yeah, I guess he's just dead anyway. Our options are Aggregate, Capacitor, and Ball Lightning. I think the Capacitor is very strong here for fairly obvious reasons. Our deck is largely revolving around scaling with Consume, which costs us orb slots to play, and Capacitor gives us a bunch more orb slots. So this adds a a much higher ceiling on how intense our deck can get in terms of scaling. Capacitor is like just a good card. We only have to play it once. It does pretty decent things even if consume's not happening. Costs 1. I don't know, it's just like very good. Aggregate for more energy for cards in our draw pile. This card can be pretty good. It depends what your card density of card draw and like discard pile manipulation is. If you got lots of holograms and compile drivers and skims, aggregate starts to get really good as the game goes on. And Ball Lightning we've talked about so much. How many Ball Lightnings have I seen? Ball Lightning is a great card to have like 2 of, but at some point you're just not getting that much out of having that sort of damage more than you already did. Like, you only need that sort of damage a certain amount. I'm probably going to grab the Go for the Eyes upgrade now. It's very good against the Tri-Slaver fight, very good against the Book of Stabbing fight. It would be nice to upgrade Capacitor at some point to get even more scaling, but I honestly think we have enough scaling without it upgraded, so it's not the most important upgrade, even though it is like the highest potential upgrade. The problem is the potential it creates for us doesn't turn any fight that we didn't already win into a win. Like, if we do the Capacitor thing, we win every fight already, even without it upgraded. Whereas the Go for the Eyes in the Act 2 Elite fights is very valuable. It's blocking for another lot of damage. Let's go Compile Driver first to see if we draw Echo for him, in which case we might have to make some complicated decisions. Okay, we just play everything then. Simple enough. Do we want a potion here? We're taking 30. We have 21 block right now. We do have a Centennial puzzle from the last Elite, which is an excellent relic. Draw 3 cards the first time we lose HP each combat. That's like very, very, very good. I think I'll go ahead and just use a deck spot here. Just feels safe. Rainbow Zap Dualcast? Trying to work out how to kill this guy now. Could go Capacitor into Rainbow and just keep all the orbs. We also want 15 block this turn ideally, which is not difficult when we already have a Steam Barrier for 9. I still have no, I've played Self-Repair. I think we're pretty close to having won this fight already. I put 2 weak on the third guy. I'm trying to kill him. It was more about the damage than the weak, I think. I think that's the best answer I can give you. So we're gonna end up with a Frost Orb, Darkness Orb. Frost Orb's gonna block for 10, which is an awful lot all by itself. I'm just gonna do this. I don't know that it was the best option. It seems fine though. I'm gonna take 1 more damage too. I'm deliberately not going to draw cards because I'm an idiot, I think. I don't know. We've got lots of defense in there. Okay, fine. We'll put the Frost Orb in front. Hey Sodaraz, how you doing today? So we're actually not going to be playing Echo Form at all in this fight. been better to kill the Taskmaster. Regardless though, we're through the fight with no problems really. 72 out of 82 health. We have a meat on the bone, so this is some backup regeneration if we take one really bad fight. And a buffer cold snap streamline. Already talked about how powerful buffer could be. We're not fighting an Act 2 boss where buffer is really incredible, but we still have transient to worry about in Act 3. It's just generally a good card, and if we upgrade buffer and then echo form it, it's blocking the next 4 hits we take, which is incredible. Cold snap would be very good here too, getting a little bit more in the way of frost orbs. We're a little bit low on them. Streamline's just like an okay damage common, sort of worse than ball lightning. Hey, Roy Wackett. How often do I upgrade Echo Form? Not super often. I'll take a buffer here. Bag of preparation's fine. Oh, do we want another elite fight? Feels like the only way we could possibly lose the run, taking another elite fight and like having a bad gremlin leader fight. Going to a store is fine. Going to another card upgrade is fine. I'm just gonna go to the store, I think. Let's buy 1 potion so that we don't take the damage, mostly. You get an achievement for defeating Transient normally. Yes, there is an achievement for killing Transient. Specifically for killing Transient. Okay. What do I think of the Darkest Dungeon DLC? I've sort of played that game out. Like, I don't know. Don't know how much more Darkest Dungeon I have in me. So we got the buffer in play. Double consume is fine here. And 23, this blocks all the damage. Yeah, this fight's completely on lockdown already. You can see how strong the consume plus capacitor gets. We have a Glacier, an 8 block channel 2 frost. This was recently nerfed a little bit, went from 9 block to 8, but it's still one of the better defect cards. We had been struggling a little bit to make enough frost orbs. We no longer have that struggle. Recursion, I think, is just like generally pretty bad. I would much rather have like a ball lightning. Just evoke my next orb with the ball lightning and channel a new lightning and also deal 7 damage. Recursion can be sort of gimmicky with dark orbs, but I've never found a fight in the entire game where I've had to do that, so I don't think that's a thing that you should be aiming for. Equilibrium we've talked about a little bit. Equilibrium would still be fine, but Glacier is going to be better. You can get Jaxed. I do not often get Jaxed. 2 strength just doesn't do very much for our deck, and we have to draw the card and lose 3 hit points to get it in play. And the store has another consume. It has a loop. It has a card remove. We can do whatever we want here. we're starting to think about like very edge cases where we might lose. So like we maybe lose in a fight where the enemy deals a ton of damage to us on turns 1, 2, and 3, and all of our good cards are on the bottom of our deck. Maybe. So probably like removing a strike is the best way to approach that situation, but it's a very unlikely situation. We already have enough scaling to deal with any of the Act 3 bosses. Probably just remove a strike. Okay, and our upgrade, at this point I'm just gonna grab the capacitor, make sure that we don't have to worry about, maybe there was a fight where we didn't get to dual cast the capacitor and we didn't have enough scaling or something like that, and now it's not a concern. Sort of a mediocre turn 1. I'm gonna put Frost Orbs in front to keep us alive for a bit. He's buffing straight away, it's a bit awkward. I think Capacitor into Consume makes a lot of sense. This is 15 block. Straight away, I'm not going to Compile Driver, because I don't want to draw my Echo Form. What's my backup strat now that I can't afford the boot? I'm just planning to cry. You want to draw first, so we have 3 energy still. In case you... Echo Form is ethereal, so if we draw it and can't play it, it disappears the rest of the combat. And I would win the fight without it here, but I'd really prefer to have it in play. We take some damage here. We actually don't because of buffer, but we still proc our Centennial Puzzle to draw. Cute interaction. Okay, I don't see a reason to play Master of Strategy this turn. We'll just take all of our block. Seems fine. Why wait to draw Echo Form when you can just use the Power Potion and get Echo Form for free? That's a good question. Very good question. Well, actually... Alright, we have a ton of focus. Invoking this twice looks fine to me. We are getting hit really hard too. At some point we'll have to work that out, actually deal some damage or something. In this fight, Collector gives you really nasty debuffs for 3 turns, and then once the debuffs are gone, he never debuffs you again. So, yeah, just like surviving that long has ended the fight, basically. I don't entirely know what we're doing. I guess we're doing whatever we want. Once we've got all the orbs in play, it's very difficult for us not to win the fight. Cool. So this has just been a pretty straightforward and easy orb scaling fight. This is how a lot of fights look. You just have like 1 consume and 1 capacitor. That's all it really takes. Other than that, you just need the basic commons, which were already good. Looking at a machine learning, hyper beam, and a reboot for our card choices. We do have a bag of preparation. I didn't draw a ton of attention to that, but that means that our turn 1 is getting a lot better. Machine learning upgrades to innate, and so on turn 1 would have 6 cards plus a machine learning and a boot sequence. Actually 5 cards plus machine learning and boot sequence, and machine learning would make sure that we were drawing an extra card every turn for the rest of the fight, which is not bad. when we already have Bag of Preparation. If we didn't have Bag of Preparation and we were just looking at Machine Learning, Boot Sequence, and 3 other cards, that's a pretty mediocre hand, and so the cost of the Machine Learning is pretty high. But getting an extra card drawn at significantly lower opportunity cost does have some value. Reboot is just pretty bad. The thing about Reboot is that it's shuffling your cards into your draw pile, and I've been talking a lot in this round about how Defect deploys like certain cards on the first trip through the deck and then wins from there. And that's very true with this deck as well. Like Echo Form gets deployed, Capacitor and Consume get deployed, and then we basically win. Maybe we play Glacier too, maybe that's necessary as well, I don't know. Most of the cards that I've been taking recently have been in order to help me do that. Double Compile Driver, there's the Capacitor and the Glacier that we want, a Master of Strategy to draw more, a buffer to keep us alive while we're doing it. So Reboot, while it gives us some value, it's a 0 energy, draw 5 card effectively. We play the cards we want to play out of our hand and we draw 5 new ones. It does shuffle our draw pile, which massively it makes our bad sequences a lot worse, is what I'm trying to say. Like our sequence where Echo Form, Glacier, and Capacitor and Consume were in the bottom 10 cards of the deck. Now we're having to deal also with perhaps drawing a Reboot, and maybe we play it and they're shuffled in the bottom 10 cards of the deck again. Or maybe we don't play it, in which case it was just a curse in that sequence. So Reboot's not incredible here. Hyper Beam's a pretty solid card. You have to understand the application of Hyper Beam. This is a card which wins hallway fights for you largely. It's a card which, if you're relying on focus at all, which you usually are as Defect, you're probably not going to play it in boss fights. But Hyper Beam's fine. I don't want it in this deck. This deck is already dealing with those issues alright. So I'm going to take the Machine Learning and probably it's my next upgrade. This just gets us through to the cards that we want a little bit faster. We can take Frozen Core, which replaces Cracked Core. If we end our turn with empty orb slots, we channel 1 Frost. Definitely not a bad relic. Runic Dome would give us 5 energy. I think I'm just going to take Empty Cage and get rid of 2 more strikes. Just make our stuff happen faster. Both of these relics are fine, but making our stuff happen wins every fight in the game. So let's make our stuff happen a little bit more reliably. Okay, Act 3. We don't have to take any elite fights. We're fighting Time Eater, which will be fine. We do want to keep in mind that we can't rest at campfires. Our path does not force us into any elites, and we already beat Time Eater easily without any additions to our deck, so we just want to take the easiest path, basically. What is Frozen Core? Frozen Core, if we have an empty orb slot, it will channel a Frost Orb in it for us. The issue with Frozen Core is that we just don't have empty orb slots very often. In this particular deck, it's just not a thing that happens super much. So we got Echo Form in play already. Get this guy weakened forever. I want to play 2 Glaciers, a Capacitor, and a Consume, but I am just barely unable to do that. Maybe 5 energy would have been nice. Just play 2 Capacitors and a Glacier. Sure. Let's just do that. Ancient Slumber, how you doing? Thanks for 4 months subbed in a row. Much appreciated. Those are some burns. So we're gonna end up taking damage if we rainbow here. Let's just defend. Defend stops us from taking damage, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we died to Hexaghost. Nasty-ish Hexaghost Feist. Ancient Slumber. Got a cool-headed self-repair and chill. Cool-headed's okay. Second self-repair's probably overkill. Self-repair notably does not do anything in the time meter fight. If we if we go to 0 HP in the time meter fight, we're just gonna die. And having the self-repairs to heal us at the end of the fight won't matter particularly much. Cool-headed's fine. Chill is fine. Just gonna take the max HP. Essence of Steel might be better than a power potion, I guess. In the 22-0 streak also in Act 1? Yeah, good number of my losses are in Act 1. I Am a War. Get a boss from Act 1 and receive a rare relic. We could also take 999 gold. Actually, I'm going to take 999 gold here. We get cursed with 2 normalities, which is pretty crappy, but we only have 1 fight before we go to 2 stores, which we can remove them both at, and we can presumably get something pretty strong out of those 2 stores with over 1,000 gold. We do have to keep in mind that in this fight there are normalities in our deck, though. So, for example, playing Master of Strategy here might not be the best thing. Probably like play the stuff we want to play first, right? So like 1, 2, 3. Now do it. I like a cool-headed as well. Buffer is pretty good. Okay, we can just buffer. It's fine. Could take some damage here. Feels like consume into dual cast is pretty good. Probably the best that this hand can really do. Hit the wrong guys to some extent. Eh. So, why is it sometimes gold, sometimes it heals? Is there a specific prerequisite for either or just random? I think it is. I forget what the prereq is, but yeah, it is a prerequisite. We got pretty unlucky there. Just cashing in the block potion to stay on relatively good health. Okay, at this point we can just stall the fight until we can dual cast our self-repair. Is it like being on... I think it's being on a certain HP or something like that. Is the thing that decides whether that gives you a bunch of gold or a heal. Okay. Thoughts on Frozen Core? I didn't see much reason to care about it in this run, especially compared to just getting an empty cage. I think it's generally fine though. It's Noblesse! Longbow to you as well. Thanks for 13 months. Subbed in a row. Over a year and you still can't figure out how to spend your money responsibly. Supporting entertainment you enjoy, I would say, is a responsible use of your money. I'm gonna take the 2 max HP over Compile Driver. Just... Max HP is... that would be a bad button to click. Max HP is... very nice for making sure that we stay alive in bad situations. Go for a peace pipe here, maybe. I was going to go to a few campfires. I don't have a whole lot of upgrades I care about, and I want to take the normalities out too. We take the Abacus to get 6 block whenever we shuffle the draw pile. Not very exciting. Yeah, I think I'll just take the Peace Pipe. I think having one loop in the deck is nice to make Time Eater just that much easier to beat. Madness doesn't do much for us, neither does Writhe. Writhe at least always shows up in a 7-card hand for us. So I'm gonna take the Writhe. There's a data disc here for +1 focus. That's pretty solid. We're never going to use gold again, right? It's unlikely. So let's take a data disc for +1 forest. Forest? Focus. Remove that Writhe. I think taking the Lantern's okay. We're gonna have a lot of cards in hand on turn 1 pretty regularly. I think at this point Stack is a good card. So let's take that too. Do we want to change our potions at all? Yeah, actually, I'm gonna go with 8 plated armor. Alright. Opener seems fine. We got a couple of upgrades I want. I want the machine learning and the loop upgraded. What happened to the normalities? We removed them all already. They are gone. No reason to play any of these other cards, I guess. Turn. I actually made letter opener proc. Echo Form's pretty gross here. Guess we go Buffer. It's pretty gross too. Don't think there's a way that we're not taking a little bit of damage. Okay, just go Echo Form. Defend. Let's just double up the self-repair. Pretty sure with 2 Frost Orbs, we're gonna have a lot of trouble taking any damage in the rest of the fight. Ooh, Consume would be an interesting play. Okay, Charge Battery, go for the Eyes, and Streamline. All perfectly reasonable commons, which we don't want right now. Just take the +2 max HP. Hey Harry, congrats on Ascension 15. Got the Silent versus the Slug Boy. Nice. This fight looks familiar. I would like to not have all of them explode on me this time. If at all possible. 31. We do definitely want to play another skill here for the letter opener damage. I think I'm just gonna keep on playing 3 skills over and over again. Wow. I really hope we draw any damage at all this turn. That should do. It's like consume, stack, defend would work. You wanna play the self-repair the next time we draw it and we'll be at full health. Oh, I have a lightning orb in play there. Ah, nice. FTL, Equilibrium, a compile driver. FTL is like one of those cards that costs 0 and looks like it can't possibly have anything wrong with it. Because it replaces itself usually, it just gets a little bit of damage in. Against Time Eater, there's not much reason to like this card. And Time Eater's the only relevant fight left in the game, so we're just going to leave that alone. Equilibrium would be fine, but again is not necessary. And Compile Driver with Gene, we just stopped taking those because we don't really need the card draw anymore. Just take the +2 max HP instead. Probably Toka Defend here unless we want to upgrade the loop. Okay, we'll upgrade the loop first and then Toka the Defend next. It's time to spin the wheel. We got a max full heal thing. Nice. We haven't had to rest at all this entire run, right? Self-repair has just been getting us there with Echo Form. Actually gonna Toke the dual cast, I think. I think it's the worst card against Time Eater. Like the only application it can have is dual casting a Dark Orb, but by the time we're doing that we've already won. Let's get Machine Learning in play. I'm gonna play Consume. I'm gonna take exactly 1 damage this turn, which is gonna draw me a bunch of stuff. No reason to play Capacitor and Ball Lightning, I don't think. I'll play Capacitor when I have Echo Form in play already. Let's get Buffer down. Dual cast worse than Self-Repair. Self-Repair at least removes itself from the deck when we play it, right? There's something valuable about that. Still haven't found Echo Form. Oh. That was dumb of me. Definitely miscounted there. Alright, so we have to, like, win it without Echo Form, which is not going to actually be difficult. But is harder than it should have been. Whoops. The worst timeline. So this Frost Orb goes off a ton of times. We just want to make more Frost Orbs. Right now it's going off how many times? It's only twice here. So we're using a buffer this turn. That's fine. Now we win, right? Yeah, all we have to do to win at this point is press end turn until our Dark Absorb kills him. So, that was like a little bit more complicated than it needed to be, but you can see how strong this combination of cards is. It's just not even a thing. Time Eater is actually locked here. So, any questions about this run that I can answer while I'm pressing E? I'm gonna play 1 more so you get Loop on Dark. I'm getting... like, the block that I'm getting from the Frost Orb that's in front is actually necessary for me not to take damage. The Frost Orb that's in front is going off 4 times a turn, so it's 36 block. So we would have taken damage that turn, for example. What is my strategy for pressing E? I use my middle finger. Fourth relic I have is the Maw Bank. No, it doesn't even say what it used to do. It's sort of awkward. It gives you 12 gold every floor until you spend money at a store. Slay the Spire mod do I think is most polished? I haven't played many Slay the Spire mods. Why did I punt the 1 damage? So I could draw 3 cards. Also, it was just how the numbers lined up. Do I mainly use my keyboard or mouse in this game? I use both. I definitely don't use all of the hotkeys that are available, but I use some of them. Please self-reverted, get perfect fight. If you've gone below full health, or have gone below your starting health, you won't get perfect fight. Obviously, I don't care a huge amount about score. Too bad we don't have dual cast to make this go faster. Yeah, I mean, it would certainly make it go slightly faster. That's about all it would do though, right? We could be playing Consume. Consume is clearly a good card to be playing here. It's not meaningfully different though, right? Like, it's exactly the same. We still have more block than he can possibly deal damage. We're still just ending turn until the Dark Orb kills him. You would not get perfect if you played self-repair now. Alright. So the rainbow that we took back in Act 1 lets us do that. It doesn't matter that much against Time Eater, but against Champ, that would have been a valuable thing to have been able to do. We could have beaten Time Eater any number of ways. That was just one of them. It's worth pointing out how, like, the cards we used to beat Time Eater there were Capacitor, Glacier, Consume, basically. Like, that's basically it. And, like, I don't know. These are just pretty good cards already. There aren't many fights where those cards are bad. I guess we used Loop Plus as well, sure. Yeah. I have not yet gotten the event where I find a note from my past self now. Oh, we also used Rainbow, sure. Cool. So that was my Overexplain Defect run. I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh, it is now starting to get hot. It's starting. It is beginning.